Mom said lonely people need friends. Are you lonely, mister? The small voice pierced through Harrison Blackwell's carefully constructed walls. He looked down from his first-class window seat to find a 3-year-old boy in a snowflake sweater, clutching a worn penguin toy, staring up at him with eyes that held no judgment, only innocent curiosity. The plane hummed softly around them as passengers settled in for the Christmas Eve flight to Boston. Harrison's jaw tightened. He hadn't expected this. Not tonight. Not on the anniversary. "Bo, sweetheart, come back here." "I'm so sorry, sir." A young woman hurried down the aisle, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She wore a faded green coat, and her blonde hair was pulled into a simple ponytail. This was Ivy Brennan, and the exhaustion in her eyes told a story Harrison had spent years trying to ignore in others. "It's fine," Harrison muttered, turning back to his laptop screen. But the boy didn't move. "My mommy says Christmas is when lonely hearts find friends," Bo continued, his tiny hand resting on Harrison's armrest. "She sings songs about it. Do you like songs?" Ivy gently lifted her son. "I'm sorry, he's very friendly, too friendly sometimes." She smiled apologetically, but Harrison caught something else in her expression, a deep, familiar loneliness that mirrored his own. As they returned to their economy seats 3 rows back, Harrison stared at his reflection in the darkened window. 33 years old, CEO of Blackwell Industries, worth more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes, and utterly, completely alone. 3 years ago, on Christmas Day, his wife, Claire, had been struck by a drunk driver while they'd been walking home from midnight mass. She died holding his hand, Christmas lights still twinkling above them. He'd spent every December since then buried in work, ignoring his mother's calls, avoiding anything that reminded him of what he'd lost. The plane began to taxi. Harrison ordered scotch, his third of the evening. Through the gap between seats, he could hear Ivy softly singing to Bo, some gentle lullaby about stars and hope. Her voice was beautiful, untrained but pure. It stirred something in him he'd thought had died with Claire. Halfway through the flight, turbulence hit. Bo started crying. Harrison heard Ivy's gentle reassurances, but the boy was frightened. Without thinking, Harrison stood and walked back to their row. "Hey, buddy," he said quietly, crouching beside Bo's seat. "You know what CEOs do when they're scared on planes?" "What?" "We count all the things we're grateful for. Want to try?" Harrison's voice was softer than it had been in years. Over the next hour, something unexpected happened. Bo fell asleep against Harrison's shoulder after they'd counted 37 things, including penguins, mommies, airplanes, and nice misters in suits. Ivy watched with quiet amazement. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that." "Your son asked if I was lonely," Harrison said, his voice rough. "I've been alone for 3 years now. Lost my wife on Christmas Day. I thought keeping everyone at a distance would make it hurt less." He paused. "I have a mother who calls me every week. I never answer. She lives alone in the house I bought her, probably feeling exactly how I feel right now." Ivy's eyes glistened. "My husband died 2 years ago. Workplace accident. Bo barely remembers him. I sing at a cafe for tips, write poetry at night when Bo sleeps. Some days the loneliness feels like it might swallow us whole. But then Bo says something like he said to you, and I remember, we're not meant to carry pain alone." The plane descended toward Boston. Snow was falling outside the windows, covering the city in white. As they gathered their belongings, Bo suddenly tugged Harrison's sleeve. "Will you come have cocoa with us? Mommy makes the best cocoa, and lonely people shouldn't be alone on Christmas, right?" Harrison looked at Ivy. She nodded, smiling. My apartment is small, but the cocoa really is good. And honestly, I could use a friend too. We both could. Something cracked open in Harrison's chest. I'd like that. But first, I need to call my mother. I need to tell her I'm coming home, that I'm sorry I've made her spend 3 Christmases alone. At Ivy's modest apartment, while Beau played with his penguin and Christmas cartoons flickered on an old television, Harrison made the call. His mother, Eleanor, answered on the first ring. "Harrison? Baby, is that you?" "Mom, I'm so sorry. I've been so lost. I forgot that you lost her too, that you've been grieving alone while I pushed you away." His voice broke. "Can I come see you tomorrow? Can we have Christmas together? I'll bring some friends, people who understand what it means to be lonely, what it means to need each other." Eleanor wept. "I've been praying for this call for 3 years. Yes, please come home." When he hung up, he found Ivy watching him with tears streaming down her face. "That was beautiful," she said quietly. "Your son taught me something tonight. He taught me that lonely people need friends, that kindness isn't something we give when it's convenient. It's what saves us when we're drowning. I've been drowning for 3 years. Tonight, a 3-year-old threw me a lifeline." Beau climbed into Harrison's lap, holding his penguin. "See, Mommy? I told you he just needed a friend. Now he's not lonely anymore. Now we're all friends." Harrison hugged the little boy, tears falling freely now. "Yeah, buddy, now we're friends." 6 months later, Harrison's life had transformed. He still ran his company, but now he left at 5 o'clock. He had dinner with his mother twice a week. He attended Ivy's cafe performances, bringing Eleanor along. They'd formed a small, unlikely family, bonded not by blood, but by shared loneliness that had found healing in connection. Ivy's poetry was published in a local magazine, her words about hope reaching other lonely hearts. Beau had a gentle grandfather figure in Eleanor, who spoiled him with gentle wisdom and homemade cookies. One evening, as spring flowers bloomed outside Ivy's apartment, Beau looked up from his drawing. "Mommy said lonely people need friends, and now nobody's lonely anymore. Right, Mr. Harrison?" Harrison smiled, his heart fuller than he thought possible. "Right, buddy, because we found each other, and that's what kindness does. It turns strangers into family." Kindness costs nothing, but its value is immeasurable. In a world where loneliness can feel overwhelming, remember, every act of connection, every moment of genuine caring, every time we see someone's pain and choose to reach out, we change lives. We save lives. Sometimes the people who seem to have everything are the ones who need a friend the most. And sometimes it takes the innocent wisdom of a child to remind us that we're all just humans, seeking connection, deserving love, needing each other. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.